Welcome to Tech Talk with Tab. I'm Rebecca.
I'm Marco.
And we're coming to you live from our studios in East Hartford, Connecticut at Tab Computer Systems. And today we're going to be talking to you about hands-free, worry-free backup powered by StorageCraft. This is kind of a technical topic, so Marco's going to do a lot of the talking today. I hope he's up for it.
Well, I'll try not to be too technical.
All right, so we've got a lot to cover, so let's get right into it. So Marco, what is hands-free backup?
So before I just kind of answer that question, let me just explain a little bit of the difference between your traditional backup and what we talk about hands-free backup.
Okay.
So your traditional backup is the backup that you usually had either some sort of tape or cartridge or maybe a USB drive that you have been swapping around on a daily basis. The hands-free backup, the big difference is there's none of that. There's not going to be swapping anything. Everything goes into a NAS. And what it does is you have an incremental backup that happens throughout the day. So we configure this so you have backups every hour. We can configure it to be shorter than that or longer than that, depending on what gaps the client feels comfortable with. But that's how we configure it by default. Hour incrementals throughout the day. So the worst case scenario, if there was some sort of issue, we will just go back an hour prior to where we were.
Okay.
The traditional backup is just to be once a day at night. And again, if you had the cartridges and all that stuff, then you had to have somebody making sure that was popping the cartridges and all that.
Right. And if you don't swap the cartridge, and you just continue to rewrite over the data on the cartridge, then you really only have one shot at your backup.
One shot, and really, I mean, that might not be really good enough.
So we did talk a little bit about how it works, but I feel that we need to kind of go into more depth about actually how it works.
All right, so the way it works is, like I mentioned before, you have incremental backups that happen throughout the day. At the end of the day, what happens is all those incrementals, they get rolled up into one file.
Okay, so
if you want to call it, just let's say it's one backup.
Okay.
So it gets rolled up, that all those incrementals throughout the day, let's say if you had 8, 10, 12, whatever, as many as you had, then they get rolled into just one file.
Mm-hmm. Then
that happens again on a weekly basis. They get rolled up into a weekly file, and then you get rolled up again into a monthly file.
Okay. And this all resides on what we sell here at Tab, which is a NAS.
Exactly, on a NAS.
Okay.
The reason we do a NAS and not a USB drive or a cartridge or anything like that is because this truly makes it fully hands-free, worry-free.
Mm-hmm.
You're backing up to a NAS that has usually 2 drives on it. So the way it's configured is that there's a redundant drive in the case of a failure. So that gives you another level of flexibility and security that your backups are safe. The NAS is only used for backups and backups only, and they're set to store as many backups as you need. Once we do the first initial backup, that's the only time that we truly have what we call a full backup.
Okay.
The very, very first backup. If that backup is stored in there, that full backup could be accessible years from now. That wouldn't really matter. Now, the incrementals, once you have start having changes to what your first initial backup was, you could have up to 6 months of retention of that.
That's a lot.
Your traditional backup with cartridges and things like that, best case scenario, a lot of people may have a week, 2 weeks at the most.
If they're changing their cartridges.
If they're changing their cartridges, which is very important and kind of funny to mention. I mean, I know of many people who had a designated person that will go and change the cartridges.
Right.
That designated person will go on vacation, and then all of a sudden, for 2 weeks, and backups have no work for 2 weeks.
Not 2 weeks.
Do you really trust somebody just to do that? Why not let the technology do its job?
Right.
Then, at the same token is, sometimes people forgot to change the cartridge.
Right.
And then you overwrote your backup from the previous night for like something new. And maybe sometimes that might not be so much of a problem, but the day that you really need to go back to a previous day and now you have overridden it, that's where you find yourself in trouble. So this is a great product. It's really easy to set up, and really, you have another level component that we have not talked about, which is you have what is get stores on the NAS locally.
Yep.
But at the same time, you also have a cloud replication.
Yep.
So the cloud replication, the way this works, is simple. At the end of the day, once you have completed all your incrementals for the day and they get rolled up to, let's say, a daily file, that's what gets replicated to the cloud. And what we have as a recommendation is to have 3 of those, 3 days of those
daily
backups on the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
So at the same token is, in the worst case scenario where you have to have a disaster recovery where, let's say, the NAS completely die or your server and you have fires or things like that, and we need to restore, we can always grab that from the cloud, bring it back. We overnight a USB drive with your backup, and we start rebuilding your server in the case of total disaster.
So one of the things that I wanted to mention is Tab has this really great program. We have a SWAT server. So what Marco's talking about is if you have a complete total disaster and the data on your NAS is not accessible from on-site premise, we have to go to the cloud. So we send a USB drive to the data center. They load all of your data onto the USB drive and then send it to Tab. And then Tab spins up a virtual server on our SWAT server using your data, and we get you back up and running within 24 hours.
Oh yeah, I mean they will overnight the file and then we'll start working on it. Now, the SWAT server is also available even if you don't have a major disaster in the office that the NAS is inaccessible. So even if you have the NAS available, we can bring our SWAT server and bring you back online within hours.
Right.
So it's a little different than your typical backup where this, it would take potentially a long time to restore and then bring you back online. With, traditional backup, we're talking potentially at least a couple days. Whereas in here, if we have the NAS available, we're talking hours.
And the SWAT server is something that we offer free of charge to our clients. So it's definitely a benefit to our clients. And then once you add on this service, it really helps to eliminate the downtime that you experience during any kind of disaster, whether it be weather-related or technology-related.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So we've definitely covered what our hands-free backup is, how it works. So let's get into some of the benefits of it. I think we've touched upon it, but I think maybe we need to pick out our benefits and give them a list.
Yeah, so just a quick example. For instance, you had a file or a folder, and that folder, all of a sudden you realize today is gone.
Whoops. Where did it go?
Where did it go? Somebody deleted it, somebody moved it, which happens.
It does, sometimes. It happens by accident. We all do that.
And you give us a call and say, hey, I'm trying to restore, or I'm trying to locate this file. With this allows us to quickly look into the backup. And when I'm saying quickly, I'm saying this is something like a 3-minute, 5-minute lookup. We can look it up and find the file or the folder and restore it.
Just like that.
Just like that. We just do a quick mount. No need to do like a restore of the whole server to then get the file and then transfer it. No, this is pretty quick, fairly quick. And since we have multiple shots throughout the day, if it just happened now, then we can just recover it from the previous backup, which could be, depending on how we configure, at the most an hour.
That's a huge advantage to this system.
It is. I mean, and it is pretty powerful. One thing that I do want to mention too is all these backups are encrypted.
Yes.
So in the case that, and also what gets saved on the cloud is also encrypted.
So the data that exists on your on-premise NAS is encrypted, but the NAS itself isn't encrypted.
It's not encrypted.
Right.
The NAS per se is not, but all the data is encrypted. So if somebody were to take that...
Your NAS burglar?
Exactly, the NAS burglar. were to take that, they would not be able to do anything with it because it's
Right.
password protected and it's also encrypted.
So you can rest assured that even though your data resides on premise, if something were to happen, somebody breaks in and steals your NAS thinking that they're going to get all your business secrets, they won't. They'll just get a NAS.
Yes, exactly. And other things that, good examples of like, the uses this is also, for instance, you need to have certain type of certifications or have to meet certain
Like HIPAA requirements.
HIPAA requirements, and and you need to also maybe meet requirements in terms of making sure that your backup has like a secondary backup. This
Yeah.
cloud replication achieves that by having this backup configured somewhere else.
Yep.
That is not just, let's say, in your office.
Right.
This also is good for instances of, like, let's say if you get infected with, hopefully never, with a
God.
ransomware.
Hopefully
and
never.
with a crypto type of virus that will, encrypt all your files. Traditional restore of that, it used to be multiple days. In here, we will be talking potentially minutes on how to restore all this data.
Well, and if they didn't have a good backup,
You
well,
may have
then
total loss.
you might have total loss. You might have to pay the ransom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is something that we do not recommend.
We do not recommend that at all. But, it's good to have a backup.
Yes.
It's even better to have this backup, not only for all of the things that we've talked about, but, definitely gives you the disaster recovery solution, enables us to quickly find files that you think that you've lost. It also frees up, an employee's time because you're not now worrying about your backups. You're not having to pick one employee to constantly switch out your tapes. You're not having to worry about, oh, well, this tape failed, it's not recording anymore. There's so many issues with tapes and the software that goes along with them. So all of that worry and headache and time and expense goes away. You would just have one backup solution that's good for not only daily backups, hourly incremental backups, but also disaster recovery plans and cloud replication. It's a great product, and we use it here, and we're very excited to be able to offer this to our clients.
Yeah. One thing that we do also with this backups is we have built custom scripts.
Yes.
And not only do we just check the backups, but we go a step further and we validate the backups.
Mm-hmm.
Every day, once we check the backup to make sure that we have good backups throughout the day, then we also at the end, we mount that file and we're making sure that we are able to browse to it. So once we are able to browse to it, that tells us that we have a good backup for the day. So that's something else that we do. It's something that we have built over here at Tab, and we offer that to all of you at no additional cost.
Yeah, so that's a great part of this program. So that was, I think, the last bit of advice that we wanted to talk to you about. So if you're looking for a good backup, which we definitely suggest you have on your server because that's where all of your data resides, we suggest the hands-free powered by StorageCraft Shadow Protect.
Exactly.
But I think that that's all that we have for you today. So thanks for joining us. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you'll be informed of whenever we put out another Tech Talk with Tab. And you can always follow us at our Facebook and Twitter pages as well. And you can find all of those links on our website at tabinc.com. Well, we hope you join us next time. Thank you.
Thank you.